Hey everyone, thanks for joining today. So, as the name suggests, this is Go based backend engineers training program, and Kushal here. So, when we say Go based backend engineers, we have two terms, whatever we are saying, like one is Golang and other is backend engineer. And backend engineer is pretty common. Could come like you can be backend engineer in Java, in Node.js, in Python, in many other general purpose languages. But here you are being a backend engineer using Golang. And the only difference between other languages, other backend engineers, and Golang backend engineers is just the language. And the other backend engineers, engineering terminology, the tools, the deployment, everything would be almost same. Okay. I'll just walk you through a few slides where you'll get more idea what we take you through in this session, in this course for Golang based backend engineers. Before that, let's have a look at the icons over here at the bottom. So you see, I'm like, let's start from left. The first one says Go, and the second one is Git. So this is to have code repos, maintain code repositories. And the third one is DevOps, where we just say CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. And then you see the fourth one is Google Cloud. So in this course, we'll be deploying our applications into Google Cloud. And the next comes the Docker. You see this blue whale. Yeah, this is Docker. So we containerize our applications and then deploy it to Kubernetes or any orchestration, by the way. But here, most popular is Kubernetes. So we deploy in Kubernetes. And here comes the concept of multiple Docker applications, Docker containers, communicating with each other, which is nothing but different applications communicating with each other through REST or gRPC or message queue system like Kafka, RabbitMQ, and other things. So we discussed that in our course. And then after Kubernetes, you see the other one is Redis Cache. So along with our regular database like SQL, NoSQL, we will also have hands-on sessions on Redis Cache, and also like in-memory cache and Redis Cache. We talk about this, and we'll see a few differences, like what are the main differences between in-memory cache and especially Redis cache, what are its extra properties it provides. And of course, like it's an ocean by itself, but we'll just have few touch bases and important points about Redis, so that yeah, you have something to just get started and you feel comfortable talking about Redis or any other tools over here. The next comes gRPC, as we said. This one is about communication. Now you have different modes in it. Unary mode, a bidirectional mode. We'll talk about that in our course. Why you have to use different modes, when, in which purpose, and when you have RESTful APIs, then why do you still need gRPC? How the evolution happened. We'll talk about that. And then next comes MSSQ. This is kind of rabbit icon, if someone can make it up. So this one is one of the message queues like Kafka. So RabbitMQ is one of the very simplest one. Like other you have the open source ones, you have like Apache, Kafka, and RabbitMQ, Nats, and there are a lot. When you talk about cloud based, you have PubSub, you have AQS, you have SQS. Depends on which cloud provider uh, based service you are utilizing. But end of the day, it's all the same purpose they are solving, with some plus and minus of um, features they have. And the last one is Grafana is it monitors your application. Like we send all our logs, our metrics, our health of our application to this specific tool, so that once our application is in production, we come back to this tool and we just monitor our health of our application. So that is what we use Grafana over here. So just I was trying to give you a very high level overview, like which technologies or tools we touch base with in our course. So, but the first one is backend. See, the first icon, which is Golang, if you just remove this Golang and replace that with Node.js, that's still fine. That will work with all the other technologies over here. Okay, just replace Golang with anything. So it's like you are learning a lot about the other tools as well, but for that you are writing your application in Golang. As simple as that. So it is like very very useful even if you want to migrate to other programming languages in future. You just need to know how other language works. Okay, so just going to next slide. So assumptions that you already knew. Okay, like what assumptions we have as trainers before starting with this, like you might have already gone through Go website, um, where like it says why Go is important and which companies are using it, which domains like fintech companies are using it, or like oil and gas, or companies like Uber, or there are many other companies into gaming. So they have huge endless list over there who are using Go and why is it popular. And then like expecting you to know a few basics of any programming language. Again, just these basics like variables, condition statements like if, for, loops, and functions, just to get started, because we no need to like spend time over here, rather than we just jump down to some very specific about Golang. Then also get like spend a lot of our time in other tools. Then the third one, no differences between front end and back end. Yeah, obviously you are here to be a back end engineer, so we expect you to know the difference between the front end and back end, what we are doing over here. Anything else? Nothing much. This is what we expect you to have a basic knowledge of it. Even if you don't have, that is still fine. We have our content tutorials and lot of presentations with example codes. You can just get started with that. It's not a big deal, even if you're not sure. And any of these you don't understand, yeah, we are still available for you to explain. Say like you are completely from different background, like say system engineering background, and this is like your first programming language you are starting with, that is still fine. Okay. um, yeah, let's go to next one. So what makes this course so unique? Okay, so you have lot courses out there, you have lot free courses out there. Yeah, you can still opt for that, but why are we so special? What is our USP, like unique selling point? I could uh, use that. So what we do is generally I'm like covering the concepts and giving assignments. These are pretty common. Okay, like say we talk about functions, and we could give few assignments on functions and you do it and you come back, that's fine. But when you move to production, the flow goes this way, that no one comes to you and asks like, hey, write a function for this. The assessments or assignments are for you to just get you habituated and get hands on the syntax, and that's it. I mean, just to know about the tools, how you use the tools. But the more or less our unique approach over here is giving a requirement. Okay, giving a requirement. Say like I want you to, it's a small requirement, not a huge project kind of thing. So a small requirement in the sense, maybe would say like write an employee login logout application, a simple one, with a REST or CLI, yeah, and just save it in a maps. And so based on this requirement, and we'll have few rules, logics, and all. I mean rules and regulations, and you have to write code for that in given point of time. So what happens here is you try to get understanding the requirement, and this is how you get habituated even once you're at the job. So you also get to the requirement, you understand the stories, whatever the story they give you, the task they give you, and based on that requirement you get to understand how you have to create the code to solve the requirement. So that is one main mindset we should have, like understand the requirement and write the code for that. This is what you're going to do, um, like till end of your career as a programmer. Okay, so like designed to create backend engineers ready for real world production challenges. That is what I said. Like get the requirements and write your code. Hands-on training with a focus on live projects. We have live projects. We just randomly choose some project, or you choose some project, and we have other folks writing those projects. Like um, so, say like we have 2 to 3 batches. So batch three is writing one project, and you integrate your new code with that, and you understand how the other engineers are writing their code. And over here, you will also learn that to write a readable code. Say, for example, you have written a code, and later someone else will be reading this code, and it has to be pretty easy for them to understand. That is what we call like clean coding. Okay, and internally, we'll be using clean architecture. That's like pretty common architecture we use, more or less. And yeah, I mean, it's like a kind of superset. If you know that, you also understand other architectures and implementations pretty easily. And then, yeah, we'll also see industry best practices, and few design patterns. We'll also look into whatever the industry or the very common one which are being used. Another point over here when we say best industry patterns is when you land into a job, okay, you'll not be writing some code from scratch. This happens 99%. You will not be landed into a project where you have to start your code from 99. I'm like start from scratch. This does not happen 99%. You will be onto the project which already have some thousand lines of code, and you'll be given a requirement to just modify something in these thousand lines of code. So you should be able to navigate through the code. You should be able to understand the previous code as well. So that is what you will be trained in our sessions. Okay, that's very important. And I'm like just practicing syntax and know how loops work, know how go routine works does not give you anything. Okay, that's the basic one to understand how a language works. But later comes how you implement it. Okay, and yeah. So our final mission is equip our fellow developers with skills to excel in like enterprise grade, like production grade backend development in 90 days. Okay, so what's our unique approach to learning? As I said, interactive and practical trainings we have. Like sometimes we say, okay, we don't have session today. We'll directly give you a problem statement, um, and then you have to just jump down onto the problem statement, write the code in the session, in the given, in that training session, live session, I would say. Okay, so it happens like this. Like we would have few breakout rooms, and each one will be in their respective breakout room, and they'll be sharing their screen and writing the code. And then from there, we do um, also watch your code live, and we don't give any clues or help you there, but it's about understanding how you have understood the previous concepts and how you are implementing it. And based on this, we would give you feedback, and also we'll be agile in sense we will adapt to whatever you have learned. Maybe like if you are bragging back, or like you feel like course is going very slow. I'm like if you are very confident on what you're writing, so that is where we get a clear idea and we're able to assess better. Okay, and we do this build and auto deploy. If all the test cases are covered, like 80% is the standard test case, standard coverage for unit tests. And we'll be writing CI/CD code. It's a small piece of code, no need to worry much. And your application would be auto deployed onto cloud. And we also look into logs, traces, the one which we are talking about, Grafana in starting stages. Yes, and then Go fundamentals covered in them. These are pretty important. Pointers. So we will see how these pointers evolved at first point. So while we are learning some point, like some new or challenging, I would say, topics over here. First, we'll see why these topics were introduced, why the pointers were introduced at the first place, right? From starting, like you know, like say like when C started, the starting of C, pointers weren't there. Maybe they were introduced, or maybe when Pascal was there, pointers weren't there at this day one when the Pascal was there. But later they have introduced, while maybe they understood, or the creators understood, found few problems, and then they have got a solution with the name of pointers to solve that problem. So then we'll try to understand it. So that is where we'll get more knowledge about it, and will help us to deep dive into something else. And interfaces, so we'll look into structs are very similar to classes in Java, very easy. Arrays and slices, so slices in Golang works very differently, so we'll look into that. We'll spend some time. And maps, which are also called like dictionaries. And error handling, so we'll talk about, yeah, how error handling happens. So these are common ones, few, but in Go it is different. That's it. Error handling is common, and maps are common everywhere. And defer, panic, recover. This is very specific to Golang, and we have to just have a look a lot about this. And testing is, as we discussed, 80% of code coverage is very important, and we'll achieve that, or like we'll work for it. Else our code will not be pushed into uh, cloud, even in our even in our classes. Okay. Go routines and channels basic. This is one of the most important topic, why Golang is chosen for the performance. I'm like, um, to have performance in mind. Okay, so go next. Yeah, hope you also liked it. Then advanced concepts for scalability. Yes. Okay, one more thing. When you join some company as a senior engineer, of course, I hope you don't join as junior engineers. Even if you, then you should have this mindset of scalability. Okay, what do you mean by scalability? Say you write this application, um, or maybe I have a very simple code to just find prime numbers. Very simple code. Okay. Now I um, ask you to say check if the same code performance is good if I give a 1 million numbers and find the prime numbers in it. Okay, so how fast it could assess. So what is the scalability there? How quick your application could scale to address millions and millions of requests. Okay, so sorry. So that's another ocean by itself, but still, you should have that mindset of writing your code very clean, simple, and should have a very good performance. Okay. Um, we'll move to next. So yeah, concurrency patterns comes into this, and we have few patterns like worker pool patterns and fan out fan in patterns. These are pretty important. We'll discuss about that. And real world demonstrations. Yeah, how applications would scale. We'll look into it. And other things like microservices. We'll work on this. We'll see differences between monolith, microservices. So why are microservices good, bad? We'll talk about it. And how these microservices communicate through REST, gRPC. How does this happen? We'll also look into it. Okay. And yeah, so yeah, we'll look into these. And the other communication other than REST and gRPC is RabbitMQ. Okay. So let's go move next. And about security, we use JWT like as a security between our REST APIs, for our REST APIs. And the database will work on SQL database and NoSQL database. Then also use cache, especially Redis will be using in it. And where are we going to deploy? We are going to deploy it in Google Cloud platform, either serverless or server based. Like we have few compute engines there in GCP. And if you know GCP, it's like very similar for other clouds also. You will be knowing very easily. It's not a big challenge. So yeah, we'll be deploying that using containers. And yeah, we'll also talk about scalability and reliability. Okay. Yeah. um Last one. Finally, what do you master it once this course is done? What do you master it? If you are still Yeah, like looking, I'm like, you, if you're still there till here, this is what you take away from this course, entire course. One, the mindset of scalable architecture, writing a secured and clean code practices of your Go application, and then like you deploy it on cloud, so you get some knowledge on cloud, how it works. You get some knowledge on Kubernetes. You get to work on microservices. Okay, and then different databases, how cache works. So at which stage do you cache your data, and like how you plan your schema in SQL, in NoSQL. We'll be discussing it, and how do microservices communicate. That's an important topic again. So these are your takeaways. Okay, this is like holistic. It's like I would say it's entire holistic package for a backend programmer. Okay, so these are pretty important. Apart from Go, yeah, we'll have to focus on this. This is not just a Go based only a Go tutorial. It's not that. If it is only Go tutorial, maybe you just have like how to read a file, write a file in Go, or how to write a REST API in Go, or maybe just like learn loops, concurrency, different patterns of concurrency you have in Go. So you restrict yourself there. But it's a Go based backend engineer is what you're aiming for, and this is what you have to target and you have to learn. Okay, and what are our expectations from student? Nothing, just practice. Just practice. Keep progressing. Just practice. I'm like, we'll also love to hear new questions, new things. Maybe we haven't tried that before, and you are trying to explore more, and you come up with these questions. Yes, we would be happy to answer it. Okay. So yeah, practice, 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 and at least like what else we expect is maybe 2 hours a day should be pretty good. Uh, in initial days, and we have few students like maybe their mindset is like this, like understand until they solve that small problem. They don't go to bed, so they spend like more than 3 to 4 hours looking at it, explore it, and when you fail you learn more, so you keep trying. So that is what we do, we encourage you to do. Yep, and that's it. Thanks for staying till here if you are there, and all the best. See you in the session. Thank you.